addresses the issue of Glendanian Road, and that's only part of the issue. If this motion is not successful, I will put another motion forward asking staff to bring a report on how we can best provide for access for our citizens to Mount Douglas Park, while at the same time retaining all of the best of the ambience of the park and the entrances to it. As I think we need to look not just at Glendenning, we need to look at the whole of the park and the accesses that are around it, and there are quite a number of them, as people have pointed out. So I would urge council to not support this particular motion and look for that broader motion and that broader report from staff. I have been a long-time user of Mount Doug Park and generally accessing off Glendenning, and often myself and my daughter would do that. We arrive by either walking, which is about a half-hour walk from my place, or by bike. And we have noticed over the years the degradation of Glendenning as a function of the way some people have chosen to park. Both the bridle trail and often when we're walking, we had the situation where we would have to go out in the road because people just park across the road. And certainly at the end of Glendenning, what has happened to some of the hedgerow and things in that area. I quite remember my daughter remarking and saying, gee, some people just don't care. And she may well be right. I've been interested to see who is taking out that parking, and certainly there are some people with disabilities, and we need to provide for people that have disabilities for sure. But the vast majority that I've observed have been people who just parked and then went into the park to walk, fully able and with no apparent, and often quite young, and no apparent disability at all. We don't want to encourage that kind of behavior, really. We want to, I think, above all, preserve the ambience of the park as one of the premier natural parks in Saanich, and indeed the ambience of the entrances to it, Glendenning in particular. I completely agree with those who have indicated that Glendenning is a unique and to be cherished street in Saanich. It is the kind of street that makes Saanich distinctive and different and provides so much to the ambience of it. I was really taken by some of the comments from Mr. Weiss when he spoke. And one of the things he said was that many, in fact probably most people, regard Glendenning as a pleasant extension to their park experience. And that's certainly my experience. As soon as you turn that corner and start down Glendenning, you are in a different kind of world, and it is a world that naturally leads to Mount Douglas Park. The Glendenning is an important part of the trail system, and it's an important part of the trail system that goes through Winchester to ultimately link up to Gordon Head and some of the connecting trails through there. It is, as Mr. White said, extremely important that somehow we recognize and maintain the delicate balance of that street. And that is a balance of some car use where it is needed, the opportunity for walkers and people to ride their horses up there, and the opportunities for cyclists. And we don't want to get that balance wrong. The last thing that we want to do is to be destructive to the character and ambience of that street. It is a gem in Saanich, and a gem that should be recognized. So I'm certainly supportive of having our staff look at how can we best achieve the balance about providing adequate access to the park, especially for people with disabilities, without being destructive to the values that that park is designed for in the process. Thank you.
I'd like to go back to the mover because it seems to me that as you're approaching your motion, would you like to talk to that? Maybe it's a friendly.
Yes, thank you, Chair. What I said, I'll just read from my notes here. What I was asking for was a report from staff for options to address the Glendenning Road access. That was all encompassing. I had followed it with 4 addendum items that I thought the report could address. One was increased parking access to the Glendenning Trail, which wasn't specific to the Glendenning Road itself. It was just merely to get access to the trail. 2, options for, that was options for increased parking access to the Glendenning Trail. 2 was the restoration of the trail along Glendenning. I heard that from the speakers. 3 were options for increased traffic access and mitigation on all access roads to the park. And 4 was increased trail access for people with disabilities, which wasn't limited to Glendenning. So I think I've covered the majority of the issue that I think is very much in line with Councillor Durn's statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I could support that, but those were in comments, they weren't in the motion. So if I could offer a friendly amendment, it would be that we ask staff to undertake a study of how issues of access to Mount Duck Park could be undertaken within the context of trying to protect the ambience of the park and its entrances and entrance streets to the highest degree possible. Would that be acceptable?
I think at this early stage, given the broadness of the ask of staff, that it would be acceptable.
Thank you very much. I shall make that amendment. Thank you. I can certainly support the motion as amended.
I see Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair and Mr. Mayor, for clarifying that, because the one thing I had concerns about is it's not just one area. There's a number of accesses to Mount Doug. You said refer to staff. I hope that includes park staff, because there was a comment from the Friends of Mount Doug that, and I know in our strategic plan process we have listed Mount Doug for a parks master plan. So this might be one of the issues to kickstart some sort of master plan process around accessibility and the various access points into Mount Doug. One of the things that I think is interesting is some of the things that have been built around cycling, maps and whatnot, they actually show a kind of what the trail is like, or what the route is like, whether it's difficult, high, that sort of thing. So there was a lot of comments about signage, and I think there definitely needs to be signage, and I think that also is conducive to around the park master plan. And part of that signage could actually show where these other access points are, what the trail is like from those points, and it could also show where we have accessible parking and some of those other things. The last thing I would want to do is just focus on one road. As we know in engineering modeling, when you focus on one road, then you have a spillover. And that's what Winchester's experiencing now. So it has to be, I think, an all-encompassing access points to Mount Doug and how we address it that way as opposed to just Glendenning. So I'm willing to support the motion if it's upright. Thank you.
I see Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was pleased also with the clarification. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I listened to the comments, made a few notes, and I too also heard the Friends of Mount Doug and the importance of a TDM. So that, that involves parks and, into this traffic and such too. And I think we better get a better project when you look at all the accesses. And, the issue has been raised because of Glendenning, but there's also many more. When I went out and toured the sites, I was actually very surprised to see how many accesses there are to Mount Douglas that I wasn't aware of. And I think it would be good, definitely, to identify all those. One of the speakers mentioned 15 park accesses, and I would hope then, if there's that many, that also aligns with the concerns that the Friends of Mount Douglas have in their role of the ever-increasing number of trails that happen by people that veer off and and create new ones, and with that create damage as well. So we certainly have heard a lot of conversation tonight about Glendenning and what a hidden treasure it is. I grew up in this community as well, so I can go back to damage that was done in Mount Douglas. And you'd hear every Sunday the motorcycles doing their hill climb up the backside of Mount Douglas. And so that went through from the 60s to the 80s, and you can go online and you see Steve Drain still holds the championship of climbing Mount Douglas. So we learned over the years that wasn't the things to do. People used to go to Mount Douglas and throw their garbage off the top. So things have certainly changed, and we, as a society, I believe, greater appreciate the treasures that we have in our community. It's unfortunate the existing signs had to go up. I know my grandson has a friend that lives up the end of Glendenning, and the first time I took him up there, I thought, my God, there must be some emergency. There's been some hazards happen, because there were so many cars parked in that area, you know, around the tree, beside the tree. And as I wove my way through, I thought, my goodness, things have changed from the, you know, the 4 or half dozen parking spaces. And certainly I know now what the issue was and has been. And so unfortunately, as people become insensitive and they, you know, they parked over the bridle path and have damaged the understory and things, that the issue of the non-parking, the no parking signs came in place. Not because of that, of course, it occurred through the fire access. So this is a great treasure in our community in Glendenning, but there's many more as well. So I'm certainly supportive of a plan, a study from staff to get a report, because there have been words about working together and us all having the same sort of goal. So I look forward to us addressing this issue and everybody being a winner at the end. Thank you.
Councillor Plant?
Thank you, Chair. I'm sitting here having listened to the 24 people and then to my colleagues, and I'm a little bit worried that, like 3 weeks ago, we had an opportunity. I made a motion to ask for a staff report to do exactly this, although it was modified, and I think tonight's motion is the superior motion on the record, 100% a better motion. But what we had tonight is we had a pitting of community against each other, and then it's going to evolve into a report being created, and then we're going to do this again. And so to that end, I apologize that is the process we've taken. I respect Council democratically voted for it. But in 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, whenever this report comes back, we're going to have the same fight. And I think that is a sad thing, because nobody wins when we have like this tonight. So the report that we're going to get, I'm looking forward to, but I know we're going to have another full house, and we're going to hear probably from a lot of you again, and that's the process that we exist in. But I think this was an example where council could have done things differently and asked for a report in advance. We had a delegation 3 weeks ago, and that delegation process allows for motions to be created after the delegation process, and that would have been a report that you could have responded to tonight. And one of those options, of course, will be do nothing. Whereas now we've worked this further up, and now we're going to just sit quietly for, I'm going to estimate 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and then we'll be back here again. I will certainly support the motion. I think it's superior to the one I even put out, but I'm a little bit frustrated that we could have been ahead of the situation by 3 weeks. Thank you.
I see Councillor Dermond and then the Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to have to respectfully disagree a little bit with my colleague, Councillor Plant. When we met a few weeks ago, we had one person present only, and there was then a request for council to make a decision. I just don't think that's proper consultation of the public. Tonight, well, yes, people are taking different points of view, and I think we all respect that. But what has happened is we have a much better understanding of how people feel about the situation, and I think the motion that we've come up with in the end is a much better motion, reflecting that input from the people who are at the mic. So I don't see this as a waste of time or anything of that nature. I think it's an appropriate process that we've done, proper public consultation that allows us to be informed on how the public feels and on the direction that the motion ultimately will ask staff to follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. I'm not sure what we're going to get back in terms of report yet until I see it, but given the broadness of the ask and given the feedback that has come back tonight and the notes that our staff have made, I'm expecting it to be a thorough report with many options. At that point in time, given the size of the park and its impact on the municipality, I'm expecting to, at that stage, if I could suggest, is that we're probably going to have to go out to consultation on a very wide scale. I don't think it's going to be enough to simply put this on the agenda and have people come back into this chamber. I think we're going to have to embark on a consultation process maybe on a community-wide scale, because people are coming from even beyond the community, and these are going to be substantial, these may be substantial changes to the park that we as decision makers are going to have to make, and for that I need to have a lot more input that's come into the chamber tonight. It is a huge park, it's accessed by a large number of people. The last walk I took through the park, I met a lot of passionate people. I don't see them here tonight. There are other people that I think might like things the way they are, and I don't see them tonight. But I'm expecting that changes of this magnitude are going to require extensive public consultation so that we get the changes right the first time, whatever changes they may be. Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I respect what Mayor Atwell's saying, but in actual fact, I would have thought that how this would proceed is through the Parks Committee. They have the mandate around parks, and so I would think that that report would be through them and then recommendations to council. I think the Parks Committee would have to look at it first, only because they have the mandate to look at the park as a whole. Plus, we've also asked about a Parks Master Plan and the Strat Plan, and I know staff haven't identified it yet. But I think there's also things about public safety that needs to be in that report as well. So I would expect that it would first go through parks and then come to us with some sort of recommendation. And that might be the recommendation that we go out for a full open house on it or whatever. But I think the mandate of Parks and Recreation is to receive these types of directions from staff, and then they would bring forward a report to council.
Yeah, I'll comment on that just briefly. Thank you, Chair. We have a good system of committees for dealing with these things. I think in this case, the issue is so big that we've maybe gone beyond the committee and need to involve the committee of the whole in a sense on this issue. This issue came to us through a delegation at a previous meeting. I think at that time it would have been appropriate motion to then send it to the Parks Committee for advice and then come to council. But as the motion was to send this back to council for a decision, I think we're expecting this report to come back to council and to deal with it as the council of nine.
Okay, I see no other hands. I'd like to reflect on a couple of things. This has been a very interesting process, and my inclination would be to say it's been a very worthwhile process. Certainly hearing the different descriptions has made the information available much richer in its detail and more textured with the inputs of our residents. I'd like to mention this too. Tonight was just a marvellous example of how citizens can come together and talk about quite a polarising issue. We've seen some of the emails, we've seen some of the Facebook posts, we've seen some of the newsletters, letters in the newspapers, and people have clear, strong opinions and emotions. But today we came and we shared our ideas, and it's a celebration of democracy. Earlier today I was talking to staff about whether we should fly our flag at half-mast because of the incidents in Europe where democracy is challenged. I think the demonstration this evening in this chamber was far greater than any position we might put the Canadian flag in. And I would like to thank everybody in the room for how they brought their ideas forward and respected the ideas that were different to theirs. So for that I'd like to thank you. I have no other addition to the comments around the motion. Now I'll call the question. Those in favour? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you. call upon the clerk to introduce the second motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This next item is 3170 Tillicum Road. It's a development permit amendment. The report of the Director of Planning is recommending that council approve the development permit for...
If I may, just as you clear the room, please, and remember there's another reading going on, and hold your conversation for outside. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To continue the 3170 Tillicum Road development permit amendment is for the proposed conversion of retail space at Tillicum Shopping Centre for the Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse store. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So, given that, I'd like to ask the applicant to come forward, please, and make a presentation. And as you come up, we'll give you a name and address and details. Thank you. And welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Andrew Peterson of Lowe's Canada. My address is 5160 Yonge Street, Toronto, Ontario. We are very excited to join the community and play a role in increasing traffic at Tillicum Centre and the businesses that operate there. We have reviewed the planning report and agree with that. I would like to thank council, staff, and the George Tobin Community Association for their time, consultation, and input throughout this process. We have not prepared a presentation, but are available for any questions and amendments. Thank you.
So I'd like to ask if the public is here for any comment on the application. I'd like to ask the second time if there's a member of the public here that would like to speak to the application. Asking a third time, are any members of the public here to speak to the application? Seeing none, I'd like to return this to council. See Councillor Platt.
Thank you for seeing me, Chair. Nice to see you too. I'd like to move the recommendation in the report.
Second by the Mayor.
Just like to briefly comment that I am empathetic to Mr. Young, not Mr. Young, the gentleman who lives on Yonge Street on Eastern Standard Time, coming to a meeting and essentially presenting for 90 seconds and then likely leaving. So I appreciate your patience this evening. Thank you.
I see Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Lowe's for moving into this location. This is a major shopping destination in Saanich, and we do see that in the future there'll be more residential development there. So I want to thank you also for adding more parking for bikes. I've been pushing this shopping center for a long time for more bike parking. You will find that a lot of people do arrive there by bikes. And I'm hoping that maybe there's some delivery from your organization as well if people arrive and they buy something larger than they can carry on their bike. But I look forward to this being in Tillicum Shopping Centre. Thank you.
See Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd echo those comments, and I think Lowe's will make an excellent addition to this mall and will help to retain the viability of this mall. And beyond that, having the kind of product that Lowe's provides in this part of Saanich, I think provides people with options who are looking for home improvement type materials, not to have to drive further to another location in Saanich, and that's always a good thing. Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a few comments. I'd like to appreciate the work that Lowe's applied to their application, meeting with the Community Association in a pre-application process, having all their paperwork in place, looking at what they needed to do to get their application forward, and suspending some of their other aims for outside tents and displays. That all helped the process go forward. Lowe's arriving at the mall is going to be a big part of revitalisation. It'll bring 100+ jobs, which is a good thing for Saanich. So I think it's a wonderful thing that Saanich is one of the 4 locations in BC that Lowe's chose to open shop. I see no other comments, so I see Richard.
very much. I just wanted to make reference to the letter from the Gorge Tillicum Community Association. It's generally in support of the proposal, but there are a number of issues that they have raised, and while they're not coming forward this time as conditions on this, I would encourage the proponent to continue to engage with the Community Association to see if their ideas and needs can be met in the near and far future. Thank you.
I see no, so I'll call the questions. Recommendation is to approve. All those in favour? Call on the clerk to introduce the third and final item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This next item is 3934 Quadra Street. It's a development permit amendment. The report of the Director of Planning is recommending the Council approve the development permit amendment for the proposed exterior changes to construct a new building entrance and to construct exterior storage structures for use as a self-storage facility. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Does Council have questions of staff? Councillor Brown, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Director of Engineering. Had a letter from the Strata, and I'm wondering if you can talk to us about if there's going to be any traffic impact on Halford. This has been an ongoing issue for this community.
Through the chair to Councillor Brownell, it's not anticipated this is going to change much than what is existing today. There is an access point off Halford, so I would imagine that would be continue to be used. I don't see a drastic change, but with the maybe advancement of the business, there might be some more through that area.
I'll just reiterate that this is an ongoing issue for the community on Halford, using that access out of Halford. The design would be to try and focus people to go out Quadra. The only reason I asked about the increase in traffic is, my understanding is the whole idea is to provide some sort of storage, and would there be more vehicles going there, like a commercial vehicle or less, I don't know. And the petition we received late this afternoon. So I think what the community of Halford wants is some sort of assurance that they're not going to see an increase in traffic using that exit, which is was really designed for something specific. They want all cars going out Quadra.
Councillor Dermott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the engineer. I would think the expectation would be, since these are smaller self-storage units, that those would be not a lot of large vehicles coming to service those, I would expect. Would that be your expectation?
Through the chair to Councillor Dermott, that would be my expectation. Certainly we can talk to the applicant about encouraging them to use the Quadra entry point as a preferred access for the customers.
And I think the greatest single concern with Halford has been the fact that the gate there is being used very often for entrance of large vehicles, and also at some point for other purposes when there was a bottle depot there. And I would expect that would be reduced, but I'll leave that to see what happens. Thanks.
Councillor Summers.
Yes, I would, should they, staff as well. I want to ask the same similar questions.
Mike.
Councillor.
Oh, the microphone. Am I being called a big mouth? I thought you could hear me. Sorry, it's getting late. The question is the outside storage. Is that, whereabout is the outside storage being proposed?
It would be in the northwest corner of the property, closest to the townhouse development.
Okay, so that comes along with that use of Halford as well. There's been an ongoing contentious issue with outdoor storage, so thank you for clarifying that. The other thing I just wanted to ask about, is this actually three storage containers going to be stacked up on Quadra Street at the entrance?
It would be correct. That's their active reuse of storage containers for the entrance.
Basically a residential neighborhood, that's the side there. And also the other, I'm a little bit confused in this figure 6 on page 123. Are these doors, or they pretend doors?
They are painted on doors to look like real doors, yes, so they're pretend.
Really? Thank you.
Any further questions to staff? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to ask the applicant to come forward, please.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you very much for hearing this application before you this evening. My name is Jordan Milne. I'm the president of Pro Storage, the applicant of this development permit amendment. I'd like to start by thanking staff for all of the time that they've spent with us addressing this application. We've worked on this since August of 2014, so it's taken us some time to get here, but we feel that it's a strong application for your consideration. We think the application has significant benefit to Saanich and to Quadra. We feel that the improvements to the streetscape on Quadra Street will help to improve the vibrancy of that area. We're predominantly surrounded by industrial properties with a keg restaurant around us, an office building across the street, a strip center across the street, Lumber World. It's a fairly industrial area. We've tried to work towards an idea around the reuse of shipping containers as our front entrance that are essentially chopped up and made in